All right. Hello, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good lunch. We're here today with our two lightning talk presenters. The first presenter will be Miriam Rigby, presenting for herself and for Training Gate from the University of Oregon. They will be presenting on researchers like money, library funding to support open access publishing via article processing fees. Following that will be Zach Welhouse from Oregon State University, presenting from raising awareness to establishing negotiating principles, a model for promoting openly scholarly communication. Miriam, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, thank you for attending. I will get my screen going here. Can I get a thumbs up if someone can see this? Just to make sure it's working. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Thank you. So hi, I'm Miriam Rigby. Thank you for attending my lightning talk. I'm a social sciences librarian at the University of Oregon, and my co-presenter who can't make it today, unfortunately, Training Gate, is the Director of Digital Scholarship Services here at the University of Oregon. So a quick history on our open access article processing fee fund. The OO Libraries has been exploring many ways to support open access publishing over the past 20 years or so. It's nothing new. And we even had an APC fund for a year back in 2009 when it was a hot thing to do in libraries. That one wasn't continued for a variety of reasons, many probably familiar to you, a major one being funding to run it, as well as discussions about whether APCs are the best way to support open access, which is still a major discussion, of course. This time around, we have had the advantage of a bit more funding, our own documentation on best practices from the first pilot, and of course, ample material to borrow from other institutions, as there have been a lot of policies and procedures published by many, many libraries over the past decade. So that was very helpful for setting up our APC fund at the University of Oregon. We've arranged a team model for evaluating applications. Franny and I co-chair it, and we have 3 subject specialist librarians to represent the sciences, humanities, and social sciences. And then we work with 2 other library staff members for the critical funding and billing processes. We'll fund any researcher at the University of Oregon who has a publication accepted by a fully open publication. So we'll fund undergraduate students, grad students, postdocs, staff members, and all levels of faculty and instructor, including people from the library itself. And while we're mostly focused on journal articles, we will also fund open access books as long as they also pass the not a hybrid publication test that we have for journals. And in this case, the book has to be going fully open access, not just individual chapters or such, much as with a journal, it couldn't be piecemeal which ones are open access. It has to be fully open access. In our first year, we funded 24 articles and 1 book. That was last year. And then this year so far, we've funded 20 articles and 2 ebooks. And so while some things are generally going well, no process or program is perfect. First, as with any discriminating program, there's always questions about what we will or won't fund. We've done our best to describe what a hybrid journal is, but there's often a level of confusion and sometimes frustration that many high-impact journals do not qualify. This is one of those times that admin buy-in is helpful to back up your policy and the reason for it. So if there are complaints that elevate, they can be addressed well and uniformly. We're also entering a time of new publishing models that provide open access in different ways than before. Specifically, the Plan S Coalition has introduced a transformative pathway for toll access journals with hybrid OA to commit to becoming wholly OA over a certain time frame and to stop double dipping via subscription funds in the meantime. But they're hybrid for now, and the strength of this commitment has yet to be tested in any significant way. So should we support OA fees for these transformative pledged journals? So far, no, but that could change. And while we're pleased with uptake so far, there's certainly some disciplinary concentration to be found. And in the second year of our APC fund, we're seeing some awardees return for additional funding. While that's absolutely fine, good news even, we're always pleased to diversify into new disciplines and support more faculty, staff, and students. Finally, the most fundamental thing that doesn't work is the whole idea. We don't particularly want to be in the business of funding individual APCs in the long term, or even the short term. We're much more interested in investing in ideas, platforms, and projects that will get us closer to the scholarly communication revolution, more radical steps to get us to a more just and equitable future for all, and not just those who can pay. Along those lines, we have supported a variety of open access initiatives, including membership-supported publishing like Scope 5 and nucleic acids research, subscribed to Open with MIT Press, contributed to community projects like Archive and Open Library of the Humanities with money and time. We've invested in our campus-based open infrastructure, adding an advanced analytics module for our DSpace repository, Scholars Bank, upgrading our shared OJS installation to the most recent version with nice theming available, and adding a UO-only Pressbooks installation for our ever-growing OER initiatives. So APCs are not the end-all be-all of open access, of course, but the APC Fund and other OA projects at the UO libraries have all fed into the support of each other through our advocacy for each, and have led to further advocacy for further movement toward open access in general. For instance, via this project of APC funds, we've increased education within the libraries as well as campus and around assessing open access, sorry. We've held workshops for librarians so they can all answer questions about the APC fund. We've trained them on using Sherpa Romeo and the directory of open access journals to evaluate publishing methods. And this has set the stage on campus for a variety of other projects. For instance, in the lead up to our university open access policy, and come see our talk at 3 if you're interested in that. And thank you.
Zach, you're currently muted.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Zach Welhouse, online learning librarian at Oregon State University. Today, I'm talking about the work I've done with the OSU's Open and Sustainable Scholarly Communication Committee. For today's talk, I'm primarily referring to sustainable access to scholarly communication, such as articles. Oregon State University is an R1 land-grant research university. The institution strives to share its research widely. In 2013, the Faculty Senate unanimously passed an open access policy that retains author copyrights to, at minimum, the post-peer-reviewed pre-final publisher version of articles, and allows for the open access availability of those articles in our institutional repository immediately after publication. As next step, our provost asked the libraries to lead campus conversations about the impacts of supporting open scholarship. The Open and Sustainable Scholarly Communications Committee is made up of library faculty and administration. Based on the current publishing landscape, we quickly determined that an updated public set of negotiation principles along the lines of MIT's framework for publishing contracts would 1, demonstrate our principles to publishers, 2, poll campus on its needs, and 3, invite campus to learn more about the library side of scholarly publishing. It's worth noting that these updated negotiating principles would be much firmer and have a lot more oomph to them because they would have more campus buy-in. The OSSC meets with the Faculty Advisory Committee for feedback on specific issues. That way we do have a regular connection to the faculty, but we don't overburden anybody with meetings. For example, the library committee gets really into the weeds during our preliminary negotiating principle period. And once we had something to share with the faculty committee and something that could bounce off, we presented it, and this brought in lots of faculty experiences and lots of great concerns that ended up making that draft much better. Last year, the committee distributed a Qualtrics survey to all faculty. We asked 20 questions, 3 of which were demographic. We were then able to facet the data to determine trends among faculty in different departments and at different points during their career. That way we could focus our individual synchronous presentations later. Majority of the respondents answered that they were very familiar or somewhat familiar when asked how familiar they were with open access. Fewer than 1% indicated they were not familiar at all. In other words, we're generally working with an audience who's familiar with open access publishing, has nuanced opinions about it, and has probably even wrestled with the question of whether to publish open access in the past. As a result, our synchronous departmental presentations had a stronger focus on the rhetoric and the budget and connecting with our audience, and less time devoted to the basics of what open access is, was, or could be. Our findings also suggested a strong contingent of faculty members who believed the traditional subscription-based model of scholarly publishing is unsustainable and not entirely aligned with OSU's land-grant values. Faculty believe that it is most important that faculty at other research institutions have access to their work, but they also believe it's important for users around the world. Likewise, many faculty specifically noted the importance of students having access to their work. More respondents deposited articles to academic social networking sites and websites that are not our institutional repository. While faculty are interested in making their articles available there, they're pushed away by the interface and because other options appear to be more efficient. Academic social networking sites have had better response rates for them in the past. And disciplinary repositories are often required by grants or their departments. They want their articles to be read without having to constantly tend to them and in the most efficient way possible. That makes sense. Finally, many faculty are concerned about the quality of open journals in their department. Even faculty who strongly support the open ethos worry about the effect on their promotions and tenure. With the survey data in hand, the OSSC switched to outreach mode. Although our department presentation started with a general use set of slides, they morphed over time based on specific targeting, based on our survey data, the time available for each group, and what played well with the individual audiences. In all versions of the faculty presentations, we focused on two aspects: the problem and the ask. We need negotiating principles that are aggressive and the support of the faculty in order to negotiate strategically. These meetings were a great chance to share what happens in the resource acquisitions and sharing department, including the all-important question: how often do they actually negotiate for subscriptions? Turns out it's all the time. Feedback from the meetings informed our LibGuide, which is linked on the slide, and it also hosts the current draft of the proposed negotiating principles. The ask portion of these presentations will culminate at the May Faculty Senate meeting, where faculty senators will vote whether to endorse the final version of our draft principles, which we will then go and use in negotiations with various publishers. It's been a long process, but we've learned a lot about the needs of our faculty, and we've also had a chance to let them learn a lot about the behind the scenes of the world of scholarly publishing. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zach and Miriam, for your lightning talks. So our next session isn't scheduled until 1:40. We're again going to be having two Zoom tracks, one here and one in the University of Oregon Zoom. If you do have questions for Zach and Miriam, we are holding some space in the next few minutes if you have them. But if not, the next session here will be Defending Your Rights, Author Agreements and Open Access, led by Holly Gabriel and Thomas Dodson. And then in the other track, we'll be using Web of Science to create a retrospective faculty scholarship collection by Mara Valentino and Daniel Levy. All right. If there are no questions, thank you again, Zach and Miriam. And like Miriam said, she will be having another presentation later this afternoon.